Welcome to this explainer on the Foundry by Forge College. Let's jump right in. Today, we're designing emergency stop strategies. Basically, we're looking at the smart contract equivalent of smashing the in-case of emergency glass during a catastrophic hack. When millions of dollars are on the line, how you plan your emergency response is literally the difference between a small bump in the road and a complete protocol-ending disaster. Let's make sure you don't panic when it matters most.
So, building on our previous lesson on environment setup principles, we're now deep into the applied solidity development track. Specifically, we're looking at how to effectively leverage the pausable pattern. Look, the mechanics are pretty easy, right? At the end of the day, it's really just a Boolean flag. But deploying those pauses without causing absolute chaos for your loyal users, that's the real challenge. Anyone can write a pause function, but knowing exactly when and how to trigger it, that's what makes you a senior developer. Here is our blueprint for upgrading from a giant panic button to a precision control board. We've got 6 parts today: the big red button, threat modeling, pause granularity, exploit scenarios, operational policies, and finally, the comparison table. Let's get to it.
Part 1. The big red button. You know the trope, right? The giant red factory panic button that just shuts everything down. Well, in Web 3, hitting that without a solid plan is like killing your car's engine on the highway just because the radio's stuck. It's a massive overreaction that causes a major pileup for a pretty contained issue. The thing to remember here is that a pause doesn't actually fix your code. Think of it as a tourniquet. A tourniquet doesn't heal the wound. It just stops the bleeding and buys you time to investigate. It is absolutely not a preventative cure for bugs, and over-relying on it can give your team a really dangerous false sense of security. Moving into Part 2, threat modeling your contract. To build a proper control board, you have to know exactly what you're protecting. This means looking way past simple function names and really examining the internal state. Every action in your contract falls into one of 3 buckets. First, critical actions. These actually move value, like minting tokens or shifting massive liquidity. Second, recoverable actions, like pausing staking rewards, or you can just fix the math later once the dust settles. And third, informational actions, which are totally harmless, read-only view functions. Your mission? Systematically suspend those critical operations during a hack, while keeping the recoverable and informational ones running smoothly. Part 3. Choosing pause granularity. Okay, this is the core trade-off we face. Do we shut down the entire protocol, or do we just isolate the compromised workflow? A global pause is beautifully simple. It's an all-or-nothing hammer. You flip a switch, everything locks down. But it punishes everyone. It's like a citywide blackout for one faulty wire. Function-level pauses, on the other hand, are like surgical circuit breakers. They provide targeted containment, so you isolate the exact threat and keep the rest of the system securely online. Way less collateral damage, for sure, but they are definitely more complex to architect, build, and test. Part 4. Real-world exploit scenarios. Let's map this theory to reality. Imagine a mid-complexity ERC token that has both staking and slashing mechanics. Suddenly, a nightmare bug corrupts the internal staking math. Ask yourself right now, do we freeze token transfers too? No way. Absolutely not. If the staking math is broken, freezing transfers is just unnecessary collateral damage. Users should still be able to trade or exit on decentralized exchanges even if staking is paused. Lock up all transfers, and you're just asking for widespread panic and a massive bank run the absolute second you unpause. Or take this scenario. The admin minting function gets compromised by a leaked private key. By blocking just that specific capability, you completely strip the attacker of their power to inflate the currency. But because of your targeted granularity, standard transfers and staking continue normally. The community doesn't even notice a hiccup. Precision over panic. Starve the attacker, protect the user experience. Part 5. Designing operational policies. Let's see who actually gets to flip these switches. Now, having precise modular switches is totally useless if nobody knows who's authorized to flip them, or if the process requires a 48-hour DAO vote while the protocol is bleeding out. You can build a bulletproof operational policy with this 5-step workflow. 1. Inventory all your functions. 2. Identify the plausible threats for each. 3. Score their financial impact. 4. Propose targeted pauses for those specific threats. And 5. Write the actual policy. Define the exact roles and evidence required to trigger them. In our advanced programs at Forge College, we see the best protocols using role-based or state management pauses. This fundamentally prevents single-point operational bottlenecks.
You really want to make sure no single developer holds the keys to the entire kingdom. A human single point of failure is just as dangerous as a code failure. A good policy ensures a pause is a governed, multi-sig response, not an ad hoc panicked button smashed by a stressed-out dev at 3 a.m.
And finally, Part 6, the comparison table. This matrix is the culmination of your threat modeling process. It's the core artifact you must build to justify your security architecture to stakeholders and auditors. You map your incident scenarios to candidate strategies, evaluating global, function-level, role-based, and so on. It literally forces you to document exactly why you chose a function-level pause over a global one before an emergency actually happens. And hey, when in doubt, prefer clarity. A slightly more disruptive but well-documented global pause is always better than a highly brittle system of interlocking flags that nobody understands while millions of dollars are draining. Documenting your logic beforehand is how you survive the chaos. Let's wrap this up with your key takeaways. First, systematically map potential damage directly to your underlying state variables. Second, always choose the minimum effective granularity necessary. Keep the healthy parts of the system running. And finally, pair your beautifully crafted code with a crystal clear operational policy, defining exactly who can pause and rigorously the conditions required to unpause once the threat is neutralized. Next up, we are taking this perfectly completed comparison table into our next lesson, where the fun really begins. We'll get our hands dirty translating these theoretical policies into concrete solidity modifiers and access control checks. I want to leave you with this final thought. Look closely at your current architecture. Is your smart contract currently relying on a giant, uncoordinated red button? If it is, it's definitely time to upgrade your control board before you're actually forced to use it. To dive deeper into smart contract security, operational policies, and other Web3 subjects, check out forge.college and continue your learning journey with us. Thanks for joining this explainer, and we'll see you in the next one.